You gotta love those 3-second pulls on a Jenny when you get a big cloud like that. What's up everybody, this is Ed from South Jersey Vapors. Today we're going to be doing a rebuild on the Prometheus Atomizer from Tobeco. It's been in a lot of our videos. I've been promising the rebuild on it for a while. Do a rebuild review kind of thing all simultaneously. It doesn't need to be rebuilt. As you can see, it's vaping pretty good. The wicks are pretty super clean right now. But I'm going to go ahead and rebuild it anyway. Today I tried out a new product that was laid on me by one of our local brick and mortar shops that just opened. I want to give a shout out to them. Firehouse Vapors and Ecig supplies. Firehouse, Ecigs and Vapors. They're in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Super nice guys, really good staff, really helpful. And they got a beautiful store. If you're from the South Jersey area, make sure you check them out. They're great. In addition to that, they gave me this XC116 sample from a company called rbasupplies.com. The guy that runs that, his name is Jeremy Colvin. This is the card that came in the pack. I'll show you a close-up of that later. It's not too important. Anyway, it's 116, XC116 sleeving material. It's kind of like Ekowool. The company's claim to fame is that they go ahead and they treat it, they kiln fire it for 17 hours or something like that at 2200 degrees. Or 1700 degrees. I don't know, you have to check their website for the exact specs. It's a whole bunch of technical mumbo jumbo. At any rate, when you get it, it's ready to use and it's not fraying at the ends like your Ekowool would. A couple things about it, why I'm rebuilding it with that stuff. I don't particularly care for it that much. I kind of like the flavor that comes off of the Ekowool a little bit better. Working with it is a little bit better, although it's a little more tedious to get it sleeved onto my wicks. But anyway, we're going to dive into it. We're going to break it down. We're going to show you what's up with it. I'm going to give you my how-tos. We'll try not to make it too boring or too technical. This video is going to be for the enthusiast or the person who's been building Jennies for a little while. This isn't necessarily good stuff for the beginner, but the things that you're going to need to have is you're going to need a gnome tester to make sure you're not having any shorts, and you're going to need 28 gauge wire. You're going to need some stainless steel rope. You're going to need some stainless steel mesh, and of course you're going to need some Ekowool. That's what we're going to use. I'll show you all the supplies when we get into the up-close shot. Alright, thanks for watching. Let's do this. Alright, so we have the Prometheus here. It's a clone. It's by Tobeco. It's got this kick-ass Dynasty drip tip on there with the Planet of the Vapes logo. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and get this thing broken down. So we're going to remove our top cap. Set that off to the side. As you can see, it's got a pretty decent build into it. But it's got the XC116 in there, and I'm not completely crazy about it. So I'm going to go ahead and rebuild it, even though, you know, when these things are working perfectly, it's almost senseless to take them apart and start over again. But we're going to do it because I'm crazy, and this is all for the people. So I'm going to need a screwdriver. I'm going to need an Allen wrench. This thing's got some pretty big Allen keys on there that you use. Actually, before we even do that, I'm going to take our syringe. It's got some custard in there. I'm going to draw out whatever liquid's left. Set that off to the side. Go ahead and break it down. Now normally, if I was going to be changing flavors, I would go ahead and just take the entire tank apart. Maybe we'll still do that anyway real quick because there's no harm in that. So we're just going to back those screws off. We'll just do the whole breakdown, screw it. Show you what the whole thing looks like. Build deck on this thing is just fantastic. Alright, we got that. There's a flathead screw in the center that screws over the top of a slotted post, kind of like your tridents and everything else. And then you're left with this here, these wicks. Boom, the whole package just comes out. Wow, he's only touching one wick, but both wicks flew out. Why is that? We're going to get to that. That's just how I do it. Alright, paper towel. Wipe it off real quick. Go ahead and show you how this thing works. Alright, so I'm going to unscrew the bottom section. Alright, this is the bottom. The firing pin is copper. Very cool, and it's adjustable, which we'll get to. Then you have your tank. Now this tank, pretty sure it's glass. In the authentic version, it's PMMA. But this Tobeco version, the box came with 2 tanks, which is sweet. And I don't know why you'd need 2 tanks unless you're one of those juice cracking guys, if it was plastic, but I can't really tell. And I'm not going to throw it against the ground to see what happens just to find out. But you can see you got a nice O-ring set real deep into the top right there. The build deck is really well done. You've got the glass, or the protector for the glass that goes on. And we're just going to clean this thing up real quick just to make it easier to work with. When we're building a Genesis, or when I build a Genesis, I find that it's much easier to build when the whole thing is dry. Okay, so if there's residual juice on there, you want to go ahead and get that off. But if you're keeping the same flavor, you don't necessarily have to take the entire tank apart like I just did. But, you know, it won't kill you to do it either. So we'll just go ahead and clean up the inside of this here. Get any excess off these O-rings. Alright, that looks pretty good. And we're going to go ahead and reassemble our tank. Just wipe out the inside of this glass. I'll tell you what I'm doing if I'm off camera for any reason. I haven't done one of these builds and done it completely on camera yet, but you'll get the idea. I'll make sure to explain it really well. So, tank section, tank cover, bottom section. You can see that this center post is threaded on the outside, and that's going to thread into the inside of that well. But not only that, but the firing pin on the inside that goes all the way up through into the top is copper with stainless steel wrapped around it at the very top. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just keep that all together. Screw our atomizer together. I'm kind of anal, so I like lining up the windows with the wick holes. That way I know when I'm putting my cap on exactly where it is. Just a little bit over. Perfect. Get it nice and hand tight. Wipe off all the juice that came off my fingers around the outside of it. And we've got a clean addy. Go ahead and just double check the firing pin. As you can see, that needs to be snugged up after you've had it apart. Nice and snug. Nice copper pin. It's actually copper. I've scratched into it. There's no funky other metals underneath. That's a big plus. Alright, so that's our atomizer. Set that off to the side. I've pre-torched 2 pieces of stainless steel rope. These pieces of stainless steel rope are 1/16 of an inch in diameter, and they are measured out to go in this atomizer and sit at the same height as the top of the post without the screw on top of it. Okay, so they're going to be the right size right from the jump street. Boom, they're perfect. But we don't stop there. I've also got here some stainless steel mesh. This is 500 mesh. Okay, I cut off strips off of the large pieces that I can use to make wicks. It just makes life a little easier and a little faster. If you have a paper cutter, that would be the best way to do this. But scissors work just fine too. You just aren't always guaranteed a nice straight cut. So I'm just going to cut off one little square here, and that's going to be more than enough for both of my wicks, believe it or not. Alright, the next thing we need to do is, well, let's light our torch. I've had this lighter since I smoked over a year and a half ago, and it's funny how your lighter doesn't run out of gas when you're just using it to quickly get a torch lit. We're going to torch up this mesh real fast. Can you see that, Johnny?
No.
Just going to give it a quick once over here. I picked this torch up at Harbor Freight Tools. I think it cost me $9. It's lasted for a good while, and I'm trying not to light anything on fire because I'm too concentrated on being on camera. Alright, the mesh cools off really quick, so you can just grab it as soon as you're done torching it, and it's good to go. Alright, so let's lay one of these pieces over the top of here and see what we're working with lengthwise. Alright, I like to make the wick so that it's got just a little bit of the stainless steel rope exposed and not covered in mesh. It's perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this in half because this is enough for both wicks, as you see here. Alright, boom and boom. Now, just like you're making a stainless steel mesh wick for a Genesis, you're just going to roll it up It might be reminiscent of something else you may have tried in your lifetime. It may not be. Just roll it up, always roll in the same direction, and the more times you do it, the tighter that it's going to get around the rope. And you'd say, well, you're using rope, so why would you even put the mesh on there anyway? It doesn't even make any sense, Ed. I know. People say that all the time. And then they try it, and they're like, wow, I can't believe I didn't do that. The reason that I put the mesh on there is because the rope wicks so efficiently that I find in order to limit juice splattering and wasted juice and excess condensation on the cap, the inside of the cap, I like to just go ahead and slow it down a little bit with some stainless mesh, and I find that 500 works the best. Alright, so we're sleeving our stainless steel rope as step one first with a little bit of mesh. That's also going to give us a lot smoother surface to work with in the long run when we go ahead and cover this in some Ekowool. Now, I told myself I wouldn't do it. I said, no, you know what, do you really want to give up your secret? You really want to give up how you make these wicks that just, you can hold the thing straight as hell and it works? And yes, I'm going to go ahead and give it up. And the reason why is because I didn't come up with it necessarily in the first place. It's a combination of ideas that I found on YouTube, and it just makes sense to go ahead and share it with you guys, because that's what we do. We're trying to help everybody out. So we're going to take our Ekowool. Alright, this is the 2 mil Ekowool. It's 2 mil on the inside, and it's like 3 on the outside, something like that. But I get this right at my local vape shop. They keep it in stock. That keeps me happy. Alright, and this might be a little bit more tricky than you can imagine, because what we need to do is always have the right tools handy. First of all, we need a metal screwdriver. One of these precision screwdrivers that's got about a 2 mil end on it will work well. And what we do is go ahead and feed the Ekowool onto this metal screwdriver. Okay, and when we're pushing it on there, we're actually pushing it tight so that the weave gets tighter as it goes up the screwdriver. And I used basically the exact length that you see on the screwdriver, and I can see where my end is. And I'm going to go ahead and clip the end. Now, you'll notice when you're working with Ekowool that a lot of times you cut it and it frays out and it gets all nasty and it comes apart really easy. That's just par for the course. The way I've learned to deal with that is what I'm going to show you right now, which is, how is he going to sleeve it on there? That stuff is limp. Yes, it is. It's very limp. But what I like to do, never hold the precision screwdriver with your fingertips while you're torching your Ekowool. That's a very bad idea. But I'm just going to give it a quick torch. Alright, this is going to be my sleeve for one of my wicks, and then I'm going to sleeve the other one as well, and it'll be the exact same process. Alright, so we've gone ahead and torched this, torchy torch. It's starting to glow red hot. That's what we want. Ekowool holds its heat a lot longer than stainless steel mesh does, so use great care when you're taking it off the screwdriver. Okay, I mean, it gets hot and it gets rigid. It becomes much easier to work with. And let's just get it off of there. I'm afraid I'm going to burn my hands. And I'm trying to keep the expletives off camera. Alright, so through the magic of YouTube, the magic of video editing, I went ahead and just burned off the other one as well so that I'd have two and have them ready to go. So if you take a look here closely, let me get the torch out of the way for just a second because we're going to need it again. You got one side that's got this like lion's mane on it, and you've got the other side here that's just got some small frays. Okay, what we want to do is we want to take the end of the stainless steel wick that's got the rope sticking out and the mesh on it, but we want the rope's end sticking out to go in through the lion's mane because we ultimately want the lion's mane at the top. Okay, we're going to start it and it's going to slide right through really beautifully. Now before we go all the way through, this end right here needs to be cleaned up. You really want it as flat and flush as you can get it, and the Ekowool, as you can see, compared to when we cut it before it was torched, cuts just beautifully, and we have a nice flat edge. The reason for that is because, like I said when I was torching it and burning my hand, is that Ekowool holds its heat a lot longer than the stainless steel mesh does, and what you don't want to end up having happen is a lot of frayed edges at the bottom resting against your insulator and getting hot and melting your insulator. You will not get a good flavor experience if you do that. So now I've got this thing worked through, okay, and now I've got this lion's mane up at the end, and what I'm going to go ahead and do really quick, I'm just going to go ahead and clip that off. And if you've followed instructions, and I'm not moving too fast for anybody, you're going to end up with two wicks that look like this here. Okay, is all that Ekowool going to fit in the wick holes? No, it's not going to fit in the wick holes, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that. Let me just get this crap out of the way. Voila. Don't need the scissors right now. Keep track of all our tools. Again, this stuff shrinks when you use it and when you heat it, so it makes it rigid, it makes it stay nice, and if you're wrapping coils on it, you want it rigid, you don't want it sliding around, and you want it to maintain its integrity. So again, we're going to quickly just torch the Ekowool on the wick one final time. Doesn't have to get red hot, but it does rather quickly, as you can see. And any juice that was on my fingers that was on there now from me touching it is going to go ahead and just burn off. Do wick number 2 and wick number 2 is dynamite. That'll do it. Alright, well that's cooling off. We're going to work with wick number 1. Alright, so my method. I think I just burnt my table. Yeah, that stuff gets super duper hot. Do not touch it, folks. It will burn the hell out of your hands. We're going to go ahead and put our screws back in first. Okay. Just finger tight so that they're still resting up nice and high above the deck. Because you don't want to have your wire on there and half trapped and everything, and then you're going looking for a screw. That sucks. So here we have our wick. Go ahead and drop wick number 1 down into the wick hole, and you can see it fits just right. Okay, is it sticking up rather high? Yes, as a matter of fact it is, but that's okay because we're just wrapping our coils onto the actual Ekowool and not onto the stainless steel. We shouldn't have a whole lot of coil movement when we get down to it. I'm using 28 gauge Kanthol. This is A1 Kanthol. It's round wire, and I got it from Lightning Vapes. I highly recommend them as a supplier. They've been awesome to us at South Jersey Vapors. They're my wire of choice. I'm going to take 6 inches of wire, roughly 6 inches of wire. Cut it with my scissors, even though I should probably be using something else to keep the integrity of my tools, but that's okay. We live dangerously at South Jersey Vapors. Now I just need to trap the wire. Doesn't require a lot of pressure. I'm going to trap it so it's heading in the direction of the wick. Johnny, is all this coming up on there?
Yes, it is.
Good. I want to make sure we get it nice and tight. That's nice and tight. That's how we like it, right, Johnny?
Do I like it? Do I get?
Alright, so here we go. This is how we're going to do it. Pay attention. We're going to do 3-2 wrap, okay? We're coming around the outside. Again, we don't want the Kanthol to ride the inside of the wick because that's too close to the insulator, and when that coil heats up, it'll melt your insulator, and you don't want that. So we're going to go 1. And then we're going to kind of tuck it down. Okay? Each wrap I like to just make sure so I don't have to do a whole lot later. You can see where I have it lined up. 2 wraps. Again, I'm going to go ahead and just knock this down. Now, I'm not doing it super tight, And the reason for that is because you want your juice to be able to flow freely up your wick. Okay, and 3. This has a slotted center post. So I'm dropping it into the slot. Get my flathead screw top. I'm just going to get that thing started on there. This might be the trickiest part of this build with this atomizer. Now, the way I do it, I'm using 1 wire for the whole thing. Personally, I think it's easier to trap 1 wire 1 time through this center post than to try to do it multiple times with dual wires. This way it just works for me, and it also keeps the continuity of my coils really well. Alright, so look, there we go. We got 3 wraps. The spacing is really nice, right? It comes around, and we still have this wire left. Well, how are we going to wrap our other wick with that wire? I'm going to go ahead and show you how we do that. Get this stuff out of the way here. Johnny, just holler at me if I'm too far off camera.
You're good, buddy.
Alright, so we're going to drop our wick in. We get the wire out of the way. Okay. So, we got to go the opposite direction that we did the first time. And how do we do that? Because we have to go down the wick now. So what we're going to do is just kind of like lacing a shoe. Alright, we got to get it under. Get this wire out of the way. It's got to go under the feeder wire, around the wick, and we want to position the coil as we go. So we're doing it just like so. Alright, this first wrap, we should use it, pull it as tight as we can just on that first wrap, and the only reason for that is to make sure that we pull the slack out coming off the center post. You do not want to leave a lot of slack there, or you will get a hot spot. And I really like my Genie builds to be hot spot free. Alright, so it's lined up, slacks out, it's good. Alright, so I'm going to put my thumb on there, curl the wire, come around underneath one more time. Like I said, this is pretty tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it's not so bad. And the results are definitely worth the learning curve. Alright, so the slack kind of got around our negative post a little, so we got to get that out of there. Alright, so this might happen to you and you'll say, oh no, well it's all crossed over. Easy fix. Just take it. It's Kanthol, it's really easy to work with. Just move your coil. Get it where it needs to be. That's it. Then we're going to go ahead and just lock down our other negative connection. Again, not too tight or you're going to strangle the wick at the lowest point, and you certainly don't want that. Very counterintuitive. Alright, so that's locked on there nice. Let's get some cutters that aren't scissors. Point our wires up. We don't want them touching the cap, so we want to make sure we cut them nice and close. Watch your eyes, Johnny. Okay, well, why are your wicks sticking up so high, Ed? That's crazy. Yeah, it is crazy. So what we need to do now is we need to go ahead and take the same screwdriver that we burnt these things on, and we're going to just push the actual wick right down through until it's just about to touch the bottom of the tank. And boom, that came right off. Perfect. Alright, so as you can see, I actually went back and wrapped it again because one of my wraps was a little bit loose. It was touching the negative post halfway up. You can see where these coils line up. It's one thing you want to be careful of on this atomizer, but I've had pretty good luck with this thing overall so far. So I'm just going to pop these things back down, and we're good. clip off my ends. If you find that when you're cutting the Ekowool, it's fraying a little bit, you can always just heat it up right on the mod. And it gets nice and rigid again and won't fray out on you. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's clip our leads again. Get this crap out of the way before I stick my finger on it. You ever get Kanthol stuck in your finger? Yep, I have too. Doesn't feel good. Oh, look at that. Got some nice glowing coils there. I see one potential hot spot right on that center one right there. So the way that we're going to rid ourselves of that is just go ahead and push down the coil underneath it a little bit. And just make sure that this one's not touching anything on the side there. And voila! She looks so good. Alright, so I've got some Yaeliq vanilla yellow custard version 2 here. We'll pop a little bit of that on these wicks, because that's what's going right in this guy. Let's see what this does. Not bad. Let's fill the tank up. It's like a 2.5 mil tank. And with the 2 wicks, it can go through the juice pretty quickly. But what I do is I take a matchstick from a wooden match and I've carved it down into a plug. Don't plug your Jenny, you'll get dry hits. I disagree. I don't get any dry hits. And that's because of this 3-piece wick system. Really stops it from drying out. If you see, the wicks are staying saturated even if I don't tilt it. They're just staying nice and done. So that's what it should look like in the end. If you choose to make a plug for yours, great. If you don't, no harm, no foul. But you will go through juice a lot quicker, and you'll have a lot more splatter if you don't plug your hole. But this thing should be a 3-second pull, and you should be good. You can see it; these wicks are just staying nice and wet, and that's what you want. Okay. Doesn't seem to be thrown from any particular angle or doing anything super crazy. Let me pull a vape off this. Oh my, that's just Flavor City. I'm sorry, that blows the Ecig 116 away. That was missing the entire time I had those wicks in, which was all of about 7 hours today. Alright, we'll go back out to the far shot and we'll call this a build, but that's how it's done. Not even one dry hit out of all those, and you notice I'm not tilting this thing. If you've done everything the way I've instructed you, you're in the same boat as me, and you're not tilting your Jenny either, and you're having a wonderful vape experience. So again, that's the Prometheus. That is it put together with the 3-piece wick. That's it put together at 0.34 ohms. If you build it my way, it should come in anywhere between 0.34 and 0.38. Pretty much exactly on the nose every single time. I've been doing this for a minute, so my builds tend to be pretty consistent, and I build at about the exact same ohms across all my dual wick atomizers, my Krakens, my Pulses, and even the Doc Dave steam turbine. The wicks are a little bit smaller, so I throw an extra wrap on there to get that at 0.34 as well. But that's the deal with it. My thoughts, this is a great atomizer. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It provides huge plumes of vapor, really good flavor. It looks great with the slick drip tip on there, and you know, it looks pretty boss on this Panzer. That again, I got from another local vape shop down here in South Jersey. Didn't pick this one up at Firehouse, but one shout out per video, so I'm not going to name the place that I got it from in this video. I'll wait for my review on this piece, which is going to be coming up real shortly. So again, I give it an 8 out of 10, just from the simple fact that it is a ripoff, it is a clone, but it's done so well. It's made really, really, really well, and I really like it. That's why it's in almost all of our videos when I'm testing stuff. So that's really all I got to say. I'm Ed from South Jersey Vapors. Thanks for watching, and make sure you like us at the bottom. Like the video, like our page, subscribe. Check us out on Facebook. It's South Jersey Vapors on Facebook. And look forward to doing more reviews for you guys. Check us out. Have a great day.